towards the Holy of Holies experience. What the Baal Shem Tov's whole thrust was, and a lot of his teachings, a lot of his parables, was to get past the superficial. And the consistency throughout all this, he experienced the deep inner state. He was able to he had help somehow, whether he was in the Carpathian Mountains, he was alone sometimes for the entire week. Somehow, we have stories about him that he met Eliyahu Navi, he was taught by Eliyahu Navi, he had interdimensional access. We don't have that, most of us. We don't. Perhaps we'll get it back, perhaps in the merit of just wanting it. In the meantime, the teachings themselves are what we have, that there is such a thing, that there is a way to connect with reality on the inside level. And it's transformational, it changes. That's what the prophets had. The prophets were catapulted above space-time. They weren't just catapulted into the future, they were catapulted above the bubble that I would call the world that we live in, and seeing everything from above, and then coming down, as I said before, coming down back with something each time. That's what's going to make the difference, for us to have that inner experience that's really above space and time, above, that you don't even know where you're going to have it. You'd like to have it during your prayers, but it might not come. You'd like to have it that you could really feel Hashem's being with you. You have the wherewithal to really stay in that place. That's what meditation is about. Meditation is getting into a breathing place where you're actually literally breathing into that place inside of you that wants so much to come to the fore and not be pushed always into the background. It's almost like letting it come to the fore, letting ourselves be in God's presence. It's not that we have to do anything or go anywhere. And that's how he saw prayer, as opposed to the classical way where we see our prayers as going up towards the Shemona Esrei, which is called the Atzilut level of prayer. The Baal Shem Tov said, we don't have to go on anywhere. We just have to take away what's preventing us from seeing that we are in the presence of God. But that's not where it ends, because Judaism doesn't take you out of the world in order to take you out of the world. It takes you out of the world in order to bring you back in. So in terms of the metaphor of our parable, that now coming back out into the other rooms of the palace, we stop and we learn the books that are there, because now we've been with the king. Now he's sent us on a mission to go back into the rooms of the palace and out of the palace into the world that, with all that seems separate from God, but now taking with us that inner experience of having been with Hashem. And so we become now carriers of that consciousness. We become carriers of what Israel is the carriers of the consciousness of the Ein Sof in the world. That's why Hitler and Haman and terrorists want to kill us, because that's the main threat. That's the whole Purim story. That's the Kamarna Rebbe says about Haman. He cannot stand that anybody is carrying that light in this world, that we are the carriers of this light. And there's a whole thing in Purim, which we spoke about when I was here last February, where it's the verse that says in the Megillah, Ginze HaMelech BaYehudim, that he was, as when Mordechai is telling it over to Hatach of what happened, the story that happened that Achashverosh gave his ring, and didn't even want the money that Haman was offering. So when Mordechai retold the story, he said that it was 10,000 talents of silver in exchange for the Ginze HaMelech BaYehudim, to be able to kill, to pay into the Ginze HaMelech, to pay into the treasuries of the king, to destroy the Jews, by Yehudim, against the Yehudim, one against the other. So the Kamarna Rebbe explains that we are the carriers of the Ginze HaMelech. The Ginze HaMelech are in the Yehudim, are in the Jew. And that's why they can't stand it. And there's no other explanation. So if we're unconscious carriers of the Ginze HaMelech Yehudim, then we totally don't know why we're being spotted, why we're being targeted. It's for us to know now, to come into our greatness, to truly become worthy, to become the carriers of the Ginze HaMelech, the knowledge and the experience of Ein Sof within this reality. And I truly believe, I don't know how, but I truly believe that, which is again the essence of Shabbos, the essence of a lot of things, is that we bring that into the world will change. And my whole thing over the last few years that came very strongly on Purim itself was the world will not change out there. It will change inside. That's where it's going to change. And that's where the change is going to occur. All that for me is embodied in this incredible parable and all the different versions of it, which I'll send you if you're interested into my book.
Which book?
The blue book, the Realizing the Unity. Now, wow, it's not surprising the Baal Shem Tov talks about such things. He was the Baal Shem Tov. But what about the Misnagdim? What about those guys over there who disagreed with the Baal Shem Tov? Is there really a disagreement? Is there really a substantive disagreement? After all, the Baal Shem Tov is basing himself on this verse, Eino Nevado. What do they do with it? So it just so happens that it has to do with our parsha. So you have at the bottom of the what shall I call it? The third piece of paper. I have a problem with this particular program that I use that I don't know how to do it yet. But next time I kind of think will be paginated. Anyway, at the bottom of this page it says Yaakov's vision of the ladder. That's where I am. So I just quote here from the text of the Torah, this week's parsha. Yaakov left Beersheba and headed towards Haran. He hid upon Hamakom, the place. Spent the night there because the sun had already set, taking stones from Hamakom. He set them around his head and lay down Bamakom. He dreamt, and behold, a ladder was set to the earth. Summit reached to heaven. Angels descended upon it. Behold, Hashem had been standing above him the entire time. Hashem said to him, I am Hashem, the God of Abraham, your grandfather, and God of Yitzhak. All the families of the earth shall be blessed through you. Behold, you must know that I am with you. I shall fulfill everything I have told you. And of course, Yaakov is himself, and he's also the Jewish people. So these words are extremely laden with tremendous meaning. That Yaakov represents the Jewish people in exile, in all of our exiles. And he's being promised here, Hashem is going to be with you. I'm going to be with you. He woke from his sleep. All this was in a dream. And he said, Hashem, Achen Hashem b'makom hazeh. Oh, Hashem is truly in this place. Va'anochi lo yadati. In English, but I did not know it, but really it carries a double meaning. What's the double meaning? Ve'anochi lo yadati. My eye, I didn't know. He was frightened. Mano raha makom hazeh. How awesome is this place? And where was he? According to the Zohar, this was the site of the Even Shtia, the foundation stone, the center point of the earth. It's also the place from which Hashem had gathered the special dust to make Adam's body. The place where Abraham had bound Yitzhak on the altar. The most powerful place on the planet Earth that eventually would become the site of the Holy of Holies. That's why the word Hamakom is used over and over again. Hamakom, Bamakom, Hamakom, Maro Hamakom. Hamakom is a very interesting word. It just so happens that gematria-wise, the rabbis say that when you take Hashem's name, Yud, K, Vav, K, and you do Yud times Yud, which is 10 times 10, and Hey times Hey, which is 25, you got 125. And Vav times Vav, which is 36. So you get 125 plus 36. Or let's do 120, the 25 at the end first again, they get 150. 150 and 36 is what? 186, the gematria of the word Hamakom. Or is it just Makom? Mem, Kuf, Vav. Mem is 186. Makom. Makom is Hashem's name squared. What do they learn from this? Is that the whole space of this world is somehow, it is Hashem's presence.